Hi guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the morning after. I am your host Sharleen Joynt, and today we are recapping episode 5 of Colton's season of The Bachelor. And so, as you guys know, we start off every the morning after with a moment that delivered, and of course this is in partnership with Skip the Dishes. And if you're in Canada, you definitely know Skip the Dishes because they are responsible for delivering delicious food to you in the comfort of your home via their website or their app. And for someone who loves pajamas as much as I do, this is pretty nice. So yes, this week's moment that delivered is, this is no surprise, I feel like you guys had to know that this was going to be my moment that delivered, and it is when Elise left. Now, we've all gotten used to the format of this show, and so it's always refreshing when someone injects a bit of reality in that department and sort of points out how ridiculous the format is. And so, you know, we've gotten used to all these women dating the same guy and just being totally cool with that and still hoping that they end up being the one that he picks. But if, you know, it's completely messed up and impractical and unrealistic and all those things. And so Elise saying things like, I listen to these girls talk about how much they're falling in love with you, this isn't working for me, or I want the time and attention a relationship deserves. You know, it's easy to scoff at her and say something like, oh, you know, doesn't she know what show she's on? But Elise is the every woman here. She's the one who watches this show and like laughs at it and talks about how, you know, how ridiculous it is. And everything she's saying is completely correct. She says, I didn't come for anything other than to be stupidly happy. And to me, this came off as a hint at not coming for some sort of Instagram fame or just to stay on the show for as long as possible. She says she can't accept a proposal after a couple months of sharing his attention. I mean, these are huge quotes. She like dropped one mic drop quote after another. She was just a complete reality check for this show, and it was so refreshing. And yes, that was this week's moment that delivered. Okay, so moving on to the episode itself, chronological order as always. So first we get Heather's one-on-one. No surprises here. The entire date revolves around the fact that Heather's never been kissed, and it's a whole lot of what if and like, are they gonna kiss? And you know, we knew that this was gonna be the case. This was pretty much Heather's purpose on this show, not by her own will, I'm sure. It's just sort of the purpose that the producers have chosen her to serve. What I thought was interesting here is that they did end up kissing. I actually thought Colton was not going to kiss her and was going to be like, I don't want to take that first kiss from you, that first kiss experience, and like, I want you to find that with someone that, who's, you know, because I don't really think Colton's going to choose Heather at the end. This is based on, you know, their rapport and her airtime. So I just thought this was interesting that he still kissed her, and it made me then wonder if he plans on keeping her around for a while. Yeah, I was actually surprised by this. Call me naive. Okay, so next we have Elise. It was painful to watch her spiral here, I've got to say. And I do find it suspicious that none of the women made a big deal about Elise coming out in like an evening gown to go talk to him. It made me think that more women than was let on knew that what she was about to do, that she was about to leave. What bothered me with this conversation is she said, it's not about jealousy or insecurity. And he responded with, then that's what I don't get. And it's like, what don't you get? It doesn't have to be a matter of jealousy and insecurity. She is not wrong in this situation. The fact that he couldn't see the problem with her problem with the situation and it not equating jealousy or insecurity was pretty crazy to me, because they are not in a realistic situation here. She is the one who is more realistic here. Finally, you know, they show a lot of Elise regretting her decision or alluding to regretting her decision or having misgivings about her decision, and I gotta say she made the right choice. I mean, he didn't seem that torn up about it. Actually, he seemed far less torn up about it than I thought he was gonna be, and I think that if he really needed her to stay, like he was really gonna pick her, he would have been a little more emphatic about trying to get her to stay. He didn't really try to change her mind. So ultimately, there's no question she made the right choice. Okay, group date. The girls have to survive in the jungle. I feel like we've seen this before. In fact, I feel like we've seen it as recently as Ari's season. Pretty sure we saw this a year ago, just a different jungle. The only notable thing to happen on this date is definitely Onyeka versus Nicole. I gotta say kudos here to Tayshia for setting the record straight about what was actually said. I think that this is something that we might take for granted. It's something that a lot of people might sort of keep their mouth shut about and sort of be like, oh, maybe it could have been construed that way. Like, she really stood up for Nicole there in a way that we don't often see on this show. And of course she was in a position to be able to do that, but it really was a sort of a nice moment between women there and sort of standing up for what was, you know, the truth. It's also amazing how quickly something so innocent can travel like wildfire in the house, and that is pretty much what my entire Flair recap is about this week. Okay, so Cassie's one-on-one. You guys, let me know in the comments if you agreed with me on this, or if I don't know, I'm getting like more prudish in my old age. But I found this date really like uncomfortable to watch. Like they have so much chemistry, and it's a beautiful thing. But it felt so intimate and private, and it was just a lot. It was a lot of making out. And granted, I was in a cafe when I was watching this episode, and I was like, you know, trying to like shield my screen, like it was embarrassing. And so I'd have felt differently if I were in the comfort of my own home, but in general, I just thought this date was like we didn't even see any conversation during the daytime portion of the date. It was beginning to end make out. And that's great for them. I mean, they definitely are a great couple. I just was like, oh my God, this is a lot. Like, yeah, I just kept thinking it was gonna stop and they would start having a conversation, and just sort of never happened until the evening when and then the thing I found a little bit weird here was the sense of Cassie almost feeling like ashamed or apologetic for not being a virgin at 23 and being from California. It was just sort of an interesting dynamic given how much weirdness usually swirls around Colton's virginity, not his lack thereof. And so I just thought this was interesting. It made me really speculate as to how conservative her background is, if that's something she feels the need to like address in an almost apologetic manner on this show. I mean, it's pretty hard to not see Cassie being the one winning this whole thing. I mean, their date was, I mean, he has something special with Kaylin, but this is like pheromones, like everyone else could see it. It reminds me a bit of Ben Higgins' season, you know, where all the ladies, every woman I've spoken to from Ben's season was like, yeah, we knew he was picking Lauren. Like they had a thing, like you could see it, we could all see it, we could feel it. And I kind of get that feeling with Colton and Cassie for sure. Okay, finally the rose ceremony. Again, not much to say about this, except it's more of Onyeka versus Nicole. One thing I will say is I do feel like there could be something that we weren't shown here to the effect of possibly Onyeka having apologized to Nicole, maybe on camera, maybe not, but certainly we weren't shown it if it did happen. The reason I say that is when Tayshia did reveal what Nicole actually said, you did get the sense that Onyeka was sort of taken aback. Like it wasn't what she thought happened, and it's not to say she was apologetic, but she definitely seemed to backpedal slightly. And so I wonder if I'm not saying it was the most effusive or sincere apology in the world, because she definitely seems to have some issue with Nicole and vice versa. But I wonder if she did apologize to her, because Onyeka's reaction to Nicole having talked about her to Colton was very strong, considering she had talked about Nicole. Does that make any sense? So it's like, if she had talked about Nicole, and that's it, then you can expect that Nicole will talk about her. Like, you can't be so shocked that someone retaliated. But if she talked about her, then apologized or addressed it in any kind of an apologetic manner and sort of smoothed it over, and then Nicole talked about her, that better, it sort of supports Onyeka's, you know, anger over Nicole's, you know, betrayal a bit better. We'll probably never know. But yeah, that's it for episode 5. Be sure to read my Flair recap, which is out now, and my Pretty Pandas recap. There's a lot to unpack this week. Thank you guys for tuning in every week, and I'll see you next week to talk about episode 6. We're getting so close. Almost. We're at the halfway part. Almost. On the morning after. So I'll see you guys here next week. Bye.